Hello, hello, everybody. What do we got today? Hello, Alora, Mia, Shy Canadian, Yad, Teague. Welcome back to the stream, everybody. Oh. There we go. That's the one. Happy Monday, everybody. How's everyone's Monday going so far? Bad loot RNG, but otherwise good. Ah, what are you farming for, Mia? Good. And me? Doing all right. Yeah. There's a lot of things happening this week. So that's a little daunting, but also pretty exciting. So. It'll be a good time though. I'm very excited for a lot of the things that we've got coming down the road. Back from vacation. Hi Liara, welcome back. Hi Nat. Welcome back to the stream. Oh, and you're farming for the Abyssos chest piece. Can I guess it's one of the ones with the portal thing on the back? The red or the purple portal, Mia? Maple, hi, welcome back to the stream as well. I don't think you've had enough coffee yet. I stayed up way too late last night. Kit says, Shy Canadian. Yo, me too. I don't know, I was just feeling like really tired or something. I slept like way longer than I meant to. And I still felt tired. I don't know. Sleep is weird like that, right? Where like you sometimes are like I don't know, you're tired, so you sleep, but then if you oversleep, then you end up more tired. And then you kind of wonder though, like, wait, is this my body though telling me that I needed more sleep? Or is it like some other thing where, like, I don't know, is it a mental thing? Like, I could have gotten up when the alarm went off, but I don't know. Something's like, makes me not want to get, I don't know. It's like all kind of whole thing, you know? Oh shit, 9 a.m. this morning? Wow. Yeah, well, make sure to get, it's good. It's important to get rest, for sure. Sleep is a weird thing. I've always had a lot of trouble with sleep personally. Just like, I don't know. Yeah, sleep has always been a very strange thing to me. I've always had a very strange sleep schedule and tried to correct it on multiple occasions, and it just never seems to work out. Like it never sticks, And I remember, like, I straight up had a coworker at one point, like, who who is like in the medical industry, and he's like, you know, I was like looking it up, and I kind of wonder. I forget what he called it, but there was like a legit thing where, he's like, there is an actual, it's not like a disorder per se, but it's just like a phenomenon or something, like where you're like wired in a different time zone or something, or like a different time frame than like the average person. And so your clock just kind of keeps pushing itself to this other time frame or something. I forget what the way it was described, but it was weird because it was like he was describing what I feel I'm fighting against. But then also, you know, you kind of wonder like, well, I don't know, is that just assigning a name to not being very good about going to sleep on time, you know, or is this an actual like biological, you know, thing, right? So like, but like, I think the way that article or that study or something, or the whatever that disorder or that you know thing what was framed, it did make it sound like it was framed from the position of that you are like biologically wired to be a night owl or something like that, where it very much like goofs up a bunch of stuff, you know, like in your rhythm and flow, if you're actively fighting like to not be a night owl. Like I don't know, yeah, just built different, you know what I'm saying? A lot of night owls. You know, I do feel like a lot of creatives end up being night owls, right? And I like, again, this is like one of those things where, is this like we're creative because we're like our bodies are wired differently, which happens to include within the package creativity, but also, you know, tendencies to be night owls? Or are we creative? And I know like people have always often asked like, why aren't you sleeping right now, right? Like, why do you stay up all night? And my response has always been like, well, I legitimately just like work a lot better at night because, you know, lights go down, world is off, like a lot of people are sleeping, there's not a lot of cars on the road, like it's really peaceful. And also I don't need to be anywhere, right? Like nobody really, generally speaking, nobody expects you to be anywhere at 3 a.m. or be responding to stuff or whatever. So you can just like really focus in on like whatever you're doing. And I feel like that's a really important peacefulness for creatives, you know? Right, see, exactly, like Liara is saying, right, yeah, I mean, same here. When you're working on a build, the most progress you probably make is when you get in the zone, right? And when you probably get in the zone most frequently when you're uninterrupted for a long stretch of time. And when is that most likely to happen? Well, if you work past like 1 a.m., there's a pretty high chance that like you're gonna get a lot fewer messages and stuff in that time frame, right? So then like that makes me think, right? So it's like, well, if I think all creatives, right, we feel this, right? Like if anyone's done creative work for any amount of time, you eventually have found that sometimes you get in the zone, as it's called, right? Or the creative flow. And then you're just like firing, you're just like going, right? And then that's like when you get all your stuff done and when you're most proud of your work, I think. And if that happens at night, then you would have a tendency to like constantly kind of be pushing toward being a night owl. So yeah, chicken or the egg thing, right? It's like, am I a night owl because I'm a creative, or am I creative because I'm a night owl? Like, I don't know, right? Or is a whole package deal? Just born this way, right? There you go. Between 1 a.m. and 3 to 4. Yeah, there we go. So now we all know we're all actually awake at the same time, but we're all in the zone. We're all in the flow separately, you know? You do graphic design. Hey, me too, Shy Canadian. My professional background is in graphic design. So that's what I went to school for, technically graphic communication, which is basically just so to say the print, originally it was like printing presses focused, but basically I specialized slash concentrated in the side of that was like graphic design, since obviously we don't only print things anymore. So yeah, I went to school for graphic design, and I did it professionally for quite a number of years. And so that's why like I do all my own graphics, you know. So I think that was one of the things that excited me actually a lot about wanting to when I decided to start streaming is that I thought it'd be a really cool opportunity to be able to do all of my own branding, right? So like my logo, all of my overlays, all of the flyers and artwork that you see me posting and stuff, you know, I do all that myself. The emotes, yeah, all those things is all stuff that like I pull from that graphic design background, you know. So great, that's awesome. I'm glad to always nice to meet a fellow graphic designer, you know, especially, you know, I think it's kind of cool too when someone actually full on went to school, like, you know, for it as well, like myself. You went to school for web and mobile application development. So when you say that, you didn't say UI UX, but do you mean like UI UX, or do you mean like backend dev stuff, I guess? But no, that's not graphic design then. If it was backend, if you were like backend coding, I'm guessing you're full stack. Actually, is what I'm saying, to some degree. Don't mind at all. Hey Ray, by the way, welcome back to the stream. No worries. You're right on time. We're just hanging out. We're just chatting and catching up. I do kind of like that, like, the housing streams now have lately just started to kind of become a little bit like, it's like a half, I don't know, like, hear me out, guys. I don't know. What do you guys think? Like, I know, because really mostly what I'm doing is housing streams. Like, it is housing, technically, in its framework. Like, what are we literally doing? I'm standing in a house in 14, and you know, we're building. But, like, I know a lot of these latest housing streams have really ended up being, like, half housing and half just chatting, you know? And sort of, like, just, like, chatting and creative. Like, I don't know, what do you think of the idea of me starting to brand / position the regular Monday and Thursday streams as just like creative streams, which could be sort of just chatting. It could be building, like sometimes it would be like building a build, but sometimes it could be like, just like, let's just chat about design. And I mean, I might kind of, and then like work on stuff in the background, but like it could be more chatting focused, or like maybe even if you guys are interested in seeing me do like actual graphic design work, you know, like I could maybe show a bit of like me building, you know, making a poster for prominence, or, you know, some of that kind of creative stuff. So like kind of, I don't want to be adding like a million extra regular streams every week, you know? Cause like already there's just a lot going on, right? So like if I started having like Monday and Thursday is housing, and then like Tuesday and Friday is creative, and Wednesday is DJing, it would be too much. But to just kind of open the housing idea to just be more like, I stream creative streams Monday and Thursday, and it's just kind of like an open-ended thing. And then like each week, you know, I would, in the weekly schedule I post, I think most of you guys have seen, right, that I try to post a weekly schedule on both my Twitter and in my housing, or in the Discord rather. And I can outline, you know, each week then kind of like what we want to do, a rough idea at least, right? But I kind of like the idea of maybe opening a little bit of that flexibility, you know, of being able to, yeah, have a bit more flexibility when it comes to what we do on stream. Just because I've noticed that it feels like people like are really interested, like when we kind of stop housing in a way, a bunch of times we've had some of our best conversations where we just end up sitting for like an hour and a half after I stop housing, and I'm just sitting down, and like we're just like talking. about like creative stuff or talking through, you know, like what people do and like how they're what they're working on and everything. So I'm seeing a lot of like yes, like you guys are into that idea. So I think maybe we'll give that a try. Like we can always bring it back, right? We can always switch it back to just housing, but I do kind of like the idea that creative stream very much could several weeks it will just be housing. For example, next week we're gonna be doing the Halloween spooky tour. So like next week will definitely be housing centric. But you know, then we can change it up, right? So and that is part of my whole shtick, or like my whole thing that, you know, as a streamer here, is that I'm not just housing and I'm not just DJ stuff. I do like a lot of different creative stuff. Even if you guys don't see me do it or haven't, you know, seen me stream at all, there's like, you know, I work a lot in, like I edit some of the photos in Photoshop. I'm not that great at Photoshop, to be honest, but like I do a lot of work in Adobe Illustrator. And, you know, even like just like coming up with graphic communication material and stuff for sending messages out to you all. And then like I'm like kind of learning more After Effects, Premiere a little bit, you know, like After Effects is how I made the heart emojis, stuff. I don't know. Yeah. All that kind of stuff. Right. So yeah. And yes, that is actually next week. Coming up fast, right? October is flying on by. So yeah, hey, for anybody who isn't aware or didn't see the message go out in my Discord, the tour form for the Spooktober housing tour that will be happening next week. The tour itself starts next week, so you have this week to submit your builds for that tour. The form is in my Discord. So if you have a spooky build that you want, there it is. There's my Discord link, and if you're not already in there, you can join. But yeah, the tour form is open. So get those things on in there. Get those submissions on in there. I know it's a few days later than I originally said, but yeah. Hey, Never Too Dark to Play. Welcome back to the stream. Glad to have you here. Shy Canadian saying, I always love watching people being creative with their art. Yeah, it's really cool to see behind the scenes and like see people's process. It's like a weird balance though, you know? Like, I mean, I'm not sure how many of you also are like very public with like what you do creatively. I mean, I know we post sometimes to Twitter and stuff, but like I know for me, a very big struggle internally, mentally that I have is trying to figure out like how much I want to show and how much I kind of want to keep to myself. Both from like being a little bit scared of people, you know, ripping off too much of like what I'm doing or like stealing my thunder. Like if for some reason, you know, someone has more time to work on a concept than I do, and I tease too much of the concept out before I have a chance to really fully flesh it out, then like someone might just like have way more time on their hands or something, or be able to build faster and then just like put out the same thing and like kind of, you know, steal the idea in a way. I don't know, I worry about that if you like show too much behind the scenes. Plus there's the whole AI, you know, crazy, that's like a whole nother can of worms. But like, but then on the other hand, like I definitely do think showing the process, like we've been doing with this club, you know, and some of the other things, it does also give people a more of an appreciation for like what you do, right? Where you like, there's the flip side of that, which is, yes, people may steal your stuff, but on the other hand, people also see you authentically building and making it. So yes, there are people who might steal it and people might praise that person for doing whatever their thing is. But for the people who are following you, then like they get a deeper look at like who you are and what you do. And that's pretty cool, you know? Potate! Hey, what's up, Potate? What club is this? This is Eluded Ecstasy. Well, actually, it will be Eluded Ecstasy. I'm literally standing inside it right now, but it is still very much in the works. But yeah. I think Amelia probably told you, right? I know, Potate, you and Amelia are pretty good friends from what I understand. And yes, this is a redesign. So I am taking, basically I'm taking the same concept of Eluded Ecstasy, which is heaven, hell, and purgatory, and I am rebuilding it pretty much from the ground up, honestly, at this point. And sort of flushing out those concepts a little bit more and bringing some of my take on it. So it's nice to sort of meet you, Potate. I think we've kind of like maybe been in the same streams every here and there, but like, hi, it's nice to talk to you. Glad to have you here. And hopefully, yeah, you'll be able to make it out to, well, I know you'll be coming to Eluded for sure at some point, since I know you're good friends with Amelia. But yeah, maybe, you know, come check out Prominence. You played at Ichi the other night too. I know you were playing at Ichi nightclub, and I just, since I don't know how much you know about myself, but I built Ichi for Roth back in 2020, late 2020, early 2021. So I built Ichi, and then I built and own Prominence nightclub, if you've ever heard of that. And then now, yeah, I'm working on Eluded Ecstasy here. So you played Eluded every Saturday. Oh, perfect. Yeah, so I'm the reason why you guys have been outside in the garden. Yeah, I'm the reason you guys have been outside in the garden for a while now. But don't worry, I'm trying to haul some ass this week and get stuff done, so that way you will have a club to play inside again very soon. Ah, you have a thing soon and got curious? Yeah. Well, hey, I'm glad to have you here, Potate. I hope your stream goes really well. I'm sure our paths will cross many times in the coming months. But yeah, have a great DJ stream. I assume that's what you're doing. Since I know you've been DJing all over the place. You've been kicking ass in the DJ scene lately. So yeah, we'll see you around though. You were away for a few days at a LARPing event. Oh, that's awesome. We had someone else in the stream was really into LARPing. Who was it? Someone else. I remember before this came up when we were talking, and someone else was bringing up LARPing. Sounds really fun, honestly. Like I could see it being just like a real good time with the right people. You know, with the right people, with the right mindset, it would be a really, really fun time, for sure. I'm a LARPer. That's right, Nimbus. There you go. Hey, also, hi, Nimbus. Welcome back to the stream. Yes, Nimbus, that's right. It was you. Okay, yeah. See, I don't know what exactly those are. I'm guessing, are those mostly guard right now, but I come from Bill. I'm guessing those are styles of LARPing. It's like saying what version of D&D or something you're playing, right? Or like what, I'm guessing? Or maybe zones, like, I don't know, communities? Is it communities of LARPing, maybe? Oh, okay, yeah, there we go. Oh, this is cool. There we go. See, I was like, I knew there. There we go. They speak in the same language. They know what's up. I don't. So for LARPing, are there different regions that all have their own, I guess, name? Is that the thing, like territories or something almost? Different games? Oh, I see. So almost, is this different games, like different campaigns, I want to say? Because I'm guessing it's similar to D&D where you have a LARPing session that continues a storyline that's kind of like a running thing across multiple events, I'm guessing. Different games have different systems. Okay. What am I doing here? Right, okay, so we're gonna... Okay. Let's see, for instance... Oh, a lot of American LARPs don't have running storylines. Sometimes it's just paintball with swords. I see, yeah. So you have campaign is a good way to put most of it. Got it. So I'm guessing a campaign is more like, yeah, just the day of, right? Like you run a campaign, a mission, so to speak, and that's like the one event that you went out to that day or something. Or that maybe it's if it's like over a weekend or something, then it's kind of like you're all there for a little while running this campaign and it's done. And then, yeah. It's cool, man. It's like a whole, I mean, I guess in a way, I mean, just like any role-playing related thing, I mean, I guess similar to D&D or similar to, you know, I mean, real in-game role plays that people have and stuff. I mean, it is really like, it can be as extravagant and elaborate as you want it, or it can be very simple. Like just a day event and you just hang out, or it could be as like extreme and elaborate as like multiple campaigns across multiple months with hundreds of people or something. Not hundreds maybe, but like, I mean, you know, I don't know. I guess it could scale way up, or you could keep it really small and intimate kind of thing. So, by the way, Absinthe Delights, or right? I think like Absinthe Delights. Yes. Thank you so much for that follow. And welcome to the stream. If you are here still, I apologize. I missed the follow earlier. Or I think we were running on some thing we were talking about. But thank you very much for that follow. I appreciate that, and welcome to the stream. What they call stick jock. The D&D equivalent would be like a power gamer. Okay. I will admit I am not a D&D gamer as either, so yeah, like the little bit that I've sort of done or seen in 14 is like my initial foray here into like RP and stuff. But like I'm so curious to learn, you know, about these things. Like I think it's absolutely fascinating, and like it's a really cool thing, you know, that like the idea of sort of becoming more and more used to the idea of like role playing and all that, like because it just blows open the doors of possibility, right? Like the more you can allow your brain to just be okay with like imagining you're in imaginary situations and things like that, but the more real you can make that, then you can like fabricate like any adventure that you could ever conceive of, which is, I mean, that's like infinite possibility, which is pretty fucking cool, and potentially a lot of fun. Also, so for anybody who is joining right now, what I'm doing is to give a context of here, for the actual building itself, we're here in Eluded Ecstasy, which is a heaven and hell and purgatory themed nightclub. And so to say, the way that they have it laid out, or the way they want it to run, is you walk in the door and you're in purgatory, And then from there, you basically go up to heaven and down to hell. So hell's down below us, heaven's up above us. Makes sense, right? So right now, I've been spending a lot of time working on the heaven and hell aspects, and I kind of haven't worked out that much of like how purgatory goes and like how this entryway goes. And before I went too much farther on heaven and hell, and just to give myself a bit of a break, I wanted to change it up a little bit, and today we're gonna kind of work through the entryway here of how this goes down. And so that's why we're here right now. And so right now, I'm just kind of trying to get a sense for the spacing here of like how we can walk these people into the different areas. So this is very crude, this is very rough. This is not the final walls or anything like that. But originally, right when you walked in the door, immediately to your right and to your left, there was the walkways out to the other areas. And now we are going to change that. So, okay, first of all, I see we got these. I'm just going to open this up just so we really see how much space we have to work with here. And it gives you a little bit of better sense of like the full scale of this entryway. And I want the doorways to be not right here, but I want them to be a little bit farther in the room. So probably about like there. Let me turn down this music a little bit. Hey, Zara, welcome back to the stream, and Caro as well. Glad to have you here. Used to be a sweaty gamer, says Potate. I love it. No, I'm glad, Nimbus. I see you said you're making dinner and stuff, but no, I mean, I figured, you know, like it's not often that somebody brings up being a big LARPer. So I understand that. I mean, just earlier in the stream, right, when Shy Canadian was saying, "Hey, I'm a graphic designer," I'm like, "Oh shit, fellow graphic designer? Like, fuck yeah." You know, and then we start nerding out. So I totally get it. That's why I was like, wait. Potate's a LARPer? Oh my god, wait. There was a LARPer in here, and I'm sure that they'd be really excited to know that there's a fellow LARPer out there, you know? Because yeah, who doesn't like, you know, suddenly discovering some other person, you know, who's like into their same sort of niche, you know, nerdy thing they're into, right? Like, I certainly, you know, that was one of the things that's been so cool about like starting to stream housing and stuff is meeting so many people who are also mutually as geeky about all the housing stuff as I am. And then we all can share that mutual pain together, you know, empathize with each other's woes and that kind of thing, of all the housing weirdness and such like that. LARPing, 14 DJing, aviation. Oh, aviation too. Wow. You fly? You have a flying license? The pain of floating wood slab partitions. Yeah, right. Wood slab partitions, stage panels. What do you call it? White rectangular partitions. All of those, right? The ones that like you have to like really small increment float up. Like, ugh. Right? The worst. But they're so fucking useful is the thing, right? Like they're so versatile at the same time. So like you'd be if you were just like, nah, fuck it, like I just can't be bothered because it's way too much effort, way too much work, then like you'd be massively handicapping yourself in terms of like what you can do. So you kind of do want to embrace those, right? But yeah. Also, again, just talking through what I'm doing here and my thinking, right? So I mentioned I wanted to move the doorways in, but then like if we move the doorway right there, we run into that pole. And Well, we talked about this before, right? But like the issue here is that the pole is just so freaking hinging looking, and we can't move it, at least right now. So basically the doorway or the walkway either has to come on this side of the pole or this side of the pole, right? And I'm gonna try to hear it, just see then what maybe we can do with this to hide the pole and still get our walkway over here. So here, keeping in mind though, right? This is spatially keeping in mind everything that's happening. Heaven dance floor is gonna be above us, right? And we're gonna, unless I change my mind massively, but I still want to use the marble here to make the dance floor itself. And because we have to use the marble like this, and they stick down so far, it basically makes all this space over here unusable, right? So the idea of having this come through over here is not really going to work for us, right? If we want to have like a substantial dance floor over here. And that's where the bathroom tiles here are marking out, right? The bathroom tiles were marking out from below, kind of giving us, what am I saying? Leaving space for this purgatory area, right? We wanted to make sure that we left enough room for purgatory and stuff to happen. So, yeah, so okay, the idea of the doorway being here isn't really gonna work out, so it's gotta be here, right? Okay, so now that's a limitation, but that does inform our decision. So now it has to be like this, right? Now that's too small. So really it should be about like that, right? Okay, so now we actually have our doorway, and now we run from there, right? So now same thing here. We can say that's our door. Where do we go? About right there, roughly. Let me see. It's in line with this line. It's a little bit farther forward, actually, here. So, that's maybe what, couple grid snaps? 2 grid snaps forward. 1, 2. Okay. Again, crudely blocking this out. Obviously, we wouldn't use marble and the heaven motif on the hell side, but just to block out the room, you know, we want to just kind of see where this all can fit together. Okay. And we might as well open this up. 1, 2, 1, 2. One, two, 1, 2. Okay. That's not even for some reason. It's got to be one more click. There we go. Bam. Okay. Hey, Amelia! There she is. The lady herself. Hi, Amelia. How are you doing? Yo, Amelia, you have your VTuber debut today. That's fucking exciting. Boo, my rectangular partition says Amphi. But also, hello Amphi. Welcome back to the stream. Glad to have you here. See, Carolyn was saying what? My friend OC suggested I float some wood slats and white rectangulars for my apartment without warning me of the horror. Oh no. It was worth it, but I was definitely shooting him dirty looks electronically. Yeah, no, I mean, I think we all have had that moment, you know, when you're housing and you're like, oh yeah, you know, like, whoa, how did you make that? Oh, stage panels floated up to make the barn rafters. That's fucking cool. I want to do that. Or like, whoa, you made that really smooth, completely seamless wall using white rectangular partitions. Wow, I want to incorporate that in my build. And then you come to actually floating it, and you're like, oh my fucking god, what have I gotten myself into? But you look at it and you're like, oh, but it will look so good when it's done. It'll look so fucking perfect, you know? But that struggle where you're like, do I want to subject myself to this torture, or is it worth it? Is it truly worth it? Can I grab this? What's going on here? Okay, yeah, perfect. This is actually... Okay, we can save ourselves a partition there. Right there. And we probably... Okay, so it'll be like that. There we go. And I'm thinking here. So the way they also have heaven and hell. Sorry, I'm going back and forth here between chat and building and stuff. But so the way I kind of thought of this, right, was originally they had what was it? Royal partitions? I think it was this, royal partitions, right? So they had royal partitions and they would just like open and close different sides of the room. So when you first walk in, the way the nightclub here works is, again, heaven is above us, hell's below us. And the way the night works here is when you first arrive, heaven is open and everybody goes to the right-hand side and goes up to heaven. And then throughout the night, they eventually switch and they get everyone down to hell. And they basically open up hell, which starts out being blocked. So sorry, I had this backwards. Hell would be blocked off when you first walk in and you'd walk up to heaven. And then halfway through the night, this barrier goes away and then you'd be able to run down. And so, not that this barrier doesn't work, but I mean, we now kind of have like an actual door. And I thought this might be kind of cool because I think we can dye this more white and like actually have it look a little bit more like heaven-y or something. And you can actually toggle this door open and close, right? So, you know, we might even be able to do something where we get it looking gold, I think, which fits the heaven theme a bit more. You know, maybe like a little bit of like this kind of golden look. We'll have to play around with that a little bit, right? But then that way, perhaps we can have like a bit more of like a uniform look where we have sort of a like a black or deep red door and then like a golden door over here. Something, I don't know, I'm not 100% sure that that's exactly how I would do it, but that's an idea, especially if we frame it, right? Like if we do this. Oh, that's too dark. And again, hold on, I know I'm probably missing some chats and stuff, but hang with me here. Let me talk through this. Right, see, so if we have, you know, the way to heaven is shut, but then we do like that, right? You know, that or something like that could be an interesting way to do it. And then same thing with hell, right? We can make the doorway over here look much more dark and sinister or something. I have some ideas though about that, but yeah, that's kind of what we're going for. We're gonna walk over here, and then we're gonna get up to heaven, and we're gonna have a stairway to heaven right here. That's my plan. So. Eating some food, Amelia? Good. Yeah, you have a long night ahead of you. Also, Pote, if you're still here, thank you so much for coming. I'm glad you could stop by. Again, have a great set, and or whatever kind of party and stuff you're up to. It was really good to have you here, and hopefully we'll be seeing more of you very soon. Also, Amelia, thank you so much for gifting the sub to the tier 1 sub to Pote, and actually just right now, gifting it to Red Rhea as well. Thank you so much. And Nimbus is saying, your parents got you into LARPing because they've been into it since you were little. That's so cool. Oh man. Yeah, I definitely feel like that's so great to be able to like pass on some of those like awesome kind of like nerdy hobbies down to, you know, your kids and stuff. And then to see them like embrace it and stuff and become world-class LARPers or gamers or whatever themselves, you know, now too would be so cool. I'm sure that's how a lot of people feel too about like comics and stuff, right? People who grew up with a lot of the comics and now seeing all the Marvel stuff come to life and the DC things and everything. So cool. And yes, the eluded trap that you walked into, Amelia. The eluded trap is now gone, but don't worry. There's other tricks up my sleeve for sure. So I definitely am not going to show my full hand when it comes to all the stuff we're working on. But I'll show a lot. I mean, I'm showing a lot of what I'm working on for this whole build, but definitely not the whole thing. Because like, where's the fun in that, right? You got to have some surprises for everybody. There's going to be, I want there to be some surprises for everybody, including the owners of the build when they walk in. Roth knows this all too well. Roth knows that, I mean, I'm sure he probably mentioned this at like TwitchCon and stuff. I know that's one of the reasons he thought I was going to like, he was like sure that I was going to show up at TwitchCon. But it's because like when I was building Ichi for him, I was just, I don't know. I'm a big fan of magic, like, you know, magic shows and these kinds of things. Cause I like that surprise. I like the wow, people, you know, just having that, whoa, what the fuck? Like, you know, moment for people. I think that's just so much fun. Like giving people that moment. And so, I don't know. There's something very special to me about being able to make people wonder and get wowed for even a moment, which is I feel like I'm quoting basically The Prestige right there. Amazing movie, by the way. If anybody is like fan of magic and that kind of thing, and or just I don't know, likes cool movies with very interesting concepts, The Prestige, highly recommend. Christopher Nolan movie with with Batman and Wolverine duking it out, and Alfred being the mediator in the middle. Super cool movie, and there's like a thing in that where they're talking about how like if you could, you know, make them wonder for even a moment, then that's like the greatest thing imaginable or something. They said it much more eloquently in the movie, but I do really like that though. I mean, I love seeing that, giving people that moment. So much stuff in our world ends up being a little samey, you know? So if you can wow people, and just give them something to really just be excited about, that's just so cool. I don't know. I get really nerdy about that. So I'm like blocking out this hallway here too, where we're gonna like walk up and then like ascend up to heaven, elevator wise, by the way. So, but it's feeling a little claustrophobic to me. Like that's a little bit too small, which is perfect for hell, but not quite for heaven. So I do think it'd be kind of cool that we walk through here and we kind of do suddenly get this like, oh shit, and there's like the doorway to heaven. But it's a little bit tight right now. Let's see, how's the pillar? This is the problem, the pillar is right here. So we might be able to get away with angling this a little bit out. And then it might open it up a bit more, you know, so like this. That way it kind of, when you first walk in here, it does kind of open up very slightly. Perceptually, I think if this angles out a little bit, this will feel a little nicer to walk into than if it's so closed up, right? Possibly even wider. Like it might even be a rotating thing, like, or not a rotating thing, like a roundabout thing. There, you know. Right, so that right there, boom, that feels much more spacious. And we can maybe dress that up so it feels more natural. But I don't know, a really narrow hallway doesn't feel very, hey, you just got into heaven to me. That feels a little bit too claustrophobic. It should feel much more like a breath of fresh air, right? And then you're like, you know, this is what I've always wanted. So, here we go. So how does this feel? Start at the door. Oh, here I'm at Eluded Ecstasy in Purgatory, blah, 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 blah. Okay, it's time to go to the club, go over here, walk through the door. Oh, wow, big stairway to heaven. Da, 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 da. Walk through here. Bam, I'm up in heaven. See, know what I mean? And I think that does feel quite a lot better to me now that it's opened up a bit there. So, okay, catching up on chat now that sorry, I needed to like put that. I had it in my brain. And I need to put it down while I was thinking about it, or else I know I was just gonna get too sidetracked and lose it for a second. Hydrate. Thank you very much for the hydrate, Mia. Good reminder. I will hydrate now. Can you hear the little bottle open there? You found that a fat cat rug makes lifting the white rectangular partition so much easier. Bo, do you mean getting it initially off the ground and then lofting it? Or do you mean like fully lofting it all the way up using a fat cat rug from like start to finish? I'm glad you like it, Amelia. I'm glad you like where we're going with that. Oh, and also thank you for the tier 1 gift sub to Mayons. Mayonos. Mayonnaise? I mean, no, not mayon. No, man. Mayonos. Mayonos? Mayonos? Mayonos. Not mayonos. Liviosa. Lagloon, welcome back to the stream as well. Man, I've been saying everybody's name all wonky today. Sorry about that, everyone. Loosey Goosey baby. Threw a bit on a Lavender Bids medium. Wishing you luck, Mia. Good luck on the bids, everybody. You like that for the doorways, Rhea? Yeah, I did post a couple items in our the Eluded Ecstasy item temporary build channel. So that was, there you go. That's why I asked for the 2 Gale partitions in there, because I wanted to play around with them and see if we could get that working nicely. Also, yes, Amelia's I mentioned earlier. Again, I'm way behind on chat, like way behind on chat, but. Amelia mentioned that she's hitting, she can't wait to hit up Prominence tonight once she's doing her VTuber debut. So for anybody who, again, I apologize if it's already being talked about down in the chat, but so Amelia tonight is debuting her VTuber model and then doing a big ass tour where she's gonna go run around to like a whole bunch of the clubs that she's friends with / partnered affiliated with, and spend some time at every single one of the clubs, just kind of basically giving them a little bit of spotlight and just like, saying like, hey, these are my friends here, like these are people I support, which is awesome. And so 2 of the stops that she'll be making along that tour will be Prominence and Ichi, which are the 2 of the nightclubs that I built myself. Let's see here. To give people, in case people are at all curious to tune into her stream when that happens. Again, I am so far behind on all of this, but let's see here. 9 p.m. Yes, so 9 p.m. EST is when Amelia starts. They'll start at EE, so literally right outside this. So literally as I'm ending my stream in an hour here, they will be gathering up outside the club here and starting their tour, as well as debuting that VTuber model. And so first of all, Let's see, hold on. How am I doing this? Okay, first of all, I think this will work. Will this work? Did it work? Did that not work? Did I misspell your name? Is it at? Do you have to do at? Shout out at? I thought that... Oh, I see what it is. Because it's like a... Slash shout out, that's the one, yeah. It's the built-in one that I was trying to do. Because I also have a custom one. I can do that as well. Right. I can do... There you go. That's... I mean, she's in the chat here, but like, in case you didn't know, there you go. Shout out for Amelia Satella. And I'll like probably just raid us on over to her like right after this. So if you stick around, you'll just naturally go to her channel anyway. If you don't know her, you should know her. And she owns Eluded Ecstasy, and she's debuting her VTuber model and all that stuff. And she's an amazing person. So yeah, there's really no reason not to follow her and check out her streams and all the stuff she's doing. And let me see, what time are we going to Prominence and Ichi? You know, in hindsight, I really, like Junjun was asking me what time I wanted to have Prominence on the thing, and I was like, I don't know. Like, picked like a time that, I picked a time that seemed like it gave me a little bit of a break after the housing stream. But in hindsight, what I should have said was, whenever Ichi is, can I put it right after Ichi? Because I feel like that makes so much more sense, right? If you like saw Ichi and then you saw Prominence, because that's the order I built them in, like that would have made a lot of sense and would have been much more clever on my part. But I see it's now reversed on the schedule. Ichi is like 1:45 right at the end. So, right. It's like really close. They're really close to each other on the schedule. But just like when I saw that, I was like, fuck. I should have like asked Roth and been like, wait, we should coordinate this and like go to Ichi first, then go to Prominence right after. That would make so much more sense. But it's okay. Hindsight is 20/20, right? If it's possible, then that'd be cool. That'd be cool actually to be like, if the last two on the tour would be Ichi, then Prominence, and then you come back here. Because then that would be almost poetic, right? Where you'd go like, hey, here's Ichi, then here's Prominence, and then here's the newest club that we're working on that will be, you know, launching soon. And then it'll be like, oh wow, it's like it's all planned out. But hey, look, if it's too much work, or if it's going to cause problems, like if Lala 14 is you know, got that all set in place and everything like that, then I don't want to fuck anything up. So like, if it's going to cause problems, don't worry. I know you got a lot on your plate already, Amelia, and you and your team. So if it's going to cause problems, like no worries at all. 100% no worries. But if it's like someone's like, oh yeah, sure, whatever, just like swap it around, I think that'd be pretty cool. Ichi Prominence Eluded, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. You do work magic. You'll work it. So yeah, for anybody who's curious to kind of see that happen on Amelia's channel later tonight, it's roughly between 1 and 2 a.m. EST, which is between 10 and 11 p.m. PST, is probably roughly the time frame that Amelia is going to be stopping by Ichi and Prominence. And so, yeah, if you guys wanted to tune in during that, then by all means, tune in. I'll be opening up Prominence so that she can pop inside with her entourage of folks and run around and see the place and probably give a little shout out to some stuff. Let me see. What am I catching up on here? Let's see. Oh, Shy Canadian was... So again, I'm just catching up here on chat, but Shy Canadian was saying, your kids are gamers and they play D&D and watch anime? Fuck yeah. Hell yeah. Kids sound pretty awesome. They should come party with us. Well, okay, maybe they're really young. So maybe they shouldn't come party with us yet, depending on what their age is. But eventually, you know? Hi, Kara, by the way. Welcome back to the stream, as well as Sunny. I see both of you joining in. Hi. Welcome. And yeah, I'll definitely be... Let's see. Have you seen Zach King? I think Zach King is the guy who does the little magic tricks using the like via visual effects, right? And he does like visual magic, little shorts, YouTube shorts, and TikToks and these kinds of things. He started off not TikTok, obviously. It was like Vine and that kind of stuff. But like, I'm pretty sure that's the same guy, right? Yeah, and I know recently I've been getting like ads where he's partnered with I think it's BJ's, the Pizookie people, like the eatery diner people, BJ's what is it, bistro, brewery and bistro or whatever. And there's like a thing where he's like making a Pizookie and he's like puts the menu on the table and like lifts up the menu and it's like a trap door that has like ice cream in it. Because like, if you guys don't know what a Pizookie is, it's like a dessert item that you can order at certain restaurants. I think BJ's coined it. I don't really know exactly, but it's the term for a big ass cookie, and then you put ice cream on top of the cookie. And so he's like, someone's ordering a Pizookie, and he like basically like whips out the Pizookie from the table itself using some visual magic trickery, and then he like puts the menu on the table and like pulls the menu up, and it's like another trapdoor, and he like scoops ice cream out of the table. It's pretty cool. It's very clever visual effects and staging. Oh, and yes, Bode Oak, yes. So yeah, if you're ever having for the housing folks out there, right? What Bode Oak is talking about is that if you have, I don't know why I needed to pull a second one out, but okay. Some of these items don't float very well. So if you have a stage panel, for example, and you're trying to float another stage panel, if you're trying to float a stage panel, right, then it's sometimes kind of tricky to get this thing initially off the ground. So you can do it like this, right, where you just turn off grid snap and you go like, you try to float it up. But the problem is it doesn't jump very high. So let's see. Hold on. Let me explain this a little bit better. Right? You need this initial push off the ground, and you can do it with like a Riviera wall shelf, for example. Do you see how that snapped up right there? But an easier thing that a lot of people do is use a rug initially. So the reason this is a problem is a lot of people float using wooden lofts, right? Like this. And the wooden loft, even if you turn off grid snap, cannot go low enough. It's not shallow enough where you can actually hit the bottom of this thing and be in its hitbox to float it up. When you first start, you just simply cannot use a wooden loft low enough, right? So what people end up doing is they use a rug of some sort, like a combed wool rug or something, and you use a wool rug, and you see how that helps pop it up off the ground a little bit as well. And because a rug is really big, but also really flat, you're almost guaranteed to hit the middle point of the stage panel. But just pointing it out that the reason that this trips up a lot of people, I think, is because most people don't think to use a Riviera wall shelf, or like or an antique wall shelf also works. And the reason though that it trips people up is because if you're used to using wooden lofts, then you almost always hit the center point, which is important when you're floating. When you're floating, your floating mechanism has to hit the center point of the object that you're about to float. So for example, if it's a stage panel here, right? This center point needs to be hit, right? So if you see how when I first laid this down, it was like this. If I use a wood Riviera wall shelf, even if it's really low to the ground, it won't hit the center point because you see how far off this is, right? So it's too far off. That's why it's not working, right? But if you take the rotate tool, click on this thing, you can see where the center point is. Then grab your loft, put it close by where the actual center point is. See, that's much closer now. And now you can use a Riviera wall shelf. And you can go like that. And you can initially set it off the ground, right? So take this like this. I've goofed that up. Going too fast. Okay, but once you get it off the ground here a little bit, right? Like a couple clicks off the ground, then you probably can switch over to like a wooden loft and be okay. It's a little unruly though. It's a little bit bulky, but you know, like I prefer to use the wall shelves, but there you go. You know, so you can see how it's floating up off the ground now, right there. If I stand behind it, you'll see my feet. There you go. See? Okay, and it's floating in place even if I leave the housing menu. There you go. Anyway, there's your little housing lesson for the day. You can use a rug. That's a little bit easier to kind of get it nudged off the ground initially. But, yeah. Okay, hold on. Let me scroll back down. Ichi. DJ Lightstar, hi, welcome back to the stream as well. Hi, hi, hi. Illusions, oh snap. Right, you always use shelves. Yeah, Anthe, I think you and I, yeah, I always use shelves to float this stuff, but I think that a lot of people, understandably, like, I mean, you know, it's easier, it's a bigger hitbox to use like lofts and stuff. And so I'm guessing that a lot of people end up with the issue of floating these things and they're like, whoa, why can't I get this thing to float? And it's probably because they're using a loft and you need to be able to get that initial push off the ground. So pro tip is when you're floating stage panels, wood slat partitions, or here, I'll visually show this. Stage panels, wood slat partitions, right? These ones. I think actually these ones as well, factory partitions as well, really thin. I think that's also very hard to float, if I remember correctly. And white rectangular partitions, these ones. Famously, these ones. Because a lot of times people make seamless walls with these, because they're amazing for it. But they float really, really, really slow. But same thing, as long as you know the center point, and you just turn grid snap off, really, then you can use like a Riviera wall shelf or an antique wall shelf, and it works very well for floating. And that's your housing tip of the day with me, Noa Saitoshii. Where was I? Where am I going with this? Carowin was saying that's pretty nifty. Does that work for the white rectangular rectangular and other things as well? Should be. Yeah, should work for all of them. The rug thing or the shelf thing. Okay, again, I think the only item in the game right now that we have not figured out a way to float, and I say we, I mean the collective housing community, is we can't float the slanted things. Again, someone correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think as a housing community, for whatever reason, this item is coded way differently than all the other items, and these are not able to be floated. You can do placement from storage and get them to sit on you can get them to sit higher than normal, so you don't have to have them on the ground. There are some instances where you can put them on, like, for example, staircases. If you place from storage. So, do we have some of them in here? Right, so like, if you have some of these from storage, you can actually get them on some of these like railings and stuff. I haven't actually tried it myself very much, but you can get them to sit on a couple of these things if you do it correctly. I don't know how to do it. I haven't really tried it. Okay, there we go. So like, for example, like this, do you see how that's sitting on top of there? So like, you can do that, and that works, right? Where it is technically floated up off the ground, or here's another one. Pillars, right? If you do place from storage, like you can float these up like on the walls a little bit. If I remember correctly, like I think it's like here or something. I forget where exactly, but you can push them up the wall. But you just can't float them from the floor. See, there you go, right? So there you go. It's like a little bit higher, which could be potentially useful for your builds. But you need like a pillar, or you need something. This is the original way that people used to do this, by the way. Like before we had the loft anything glitch. If you ever look at old YouTube videos, people used to like do this with troop stages and other shit where like you had to like stick them on top of pillars and stuff. Yes, Liara. Yeah, that's what I'm showing here, I think. I think we're talking about the same thing where you can float them and they need to be on a beam, but they need to be on like an actual beam of the house, not like a beam that you place down. And you can't just like randomly, like, unlike every other item that, you know, where you can just put it down somewhere and then push it up vertically, these don't really allow you to do that. So it's kind of a weird thing. I don't know. It's weird. One of those many things, you know, where you're like, what? Why would they make it like that? I don't know. That's a good fucking question. I have no idea. Oh, actually, you know, what if you did like that? Just to smooth out, right? This is very weird, these angles. That doesn't feel very natural. But if we pillar it up, bada boom. Oh yeah, what weird angles? Ta-da! Wow, doesn't that look natural and like it's supposed to be that way and not at all a mistake or anything? Intentional, right? It looks intentional. Which is like the whole name of the game with a lot of this housing stuff, is you're going to be doing all kinds of wacky, weird stuff and splicing together items. But if you make it look intentional, then people won't really question it as much. So... Still a mystery, sadly, how to float them. Yeah, the slanted ones I was talking about. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know if we're getting new housing items tomorrow. Although, I don't know. I feel like they've been releasing at least a few almost every patch. For sure. With the Halloween event, we do get a housing item. So from that perspective, we do at least get that little cage with the little light inside, which is dyeable, which people were pointing out on Twitter, which is kind of cool. So we get that little cage light, which could be kind of awesome. But I don't know about like a collection of other housing items. So. Also, wait, let me scroll. Can I scroll way back? Oh shit, wait, it won't even let me scroll back up. What the heck? Dang, I can't even get back up. I know there was like a few topics we were talking about near the very beginning of the stream that I wasn't able to fully address. And I do apologize for that if someone was asking a question or anything way up at the top. If you had a question from like way early in the stream and it got buried with all the other stuff we were talking about, feel free to ask it again too. Because I can't scroll up and chat that far, unfortunately. I'm sorry. Let's see here. But yeah, okay, so here we go. We can start filling this out. So, okay, that's roughly, you're starting to kind of see me blocking out the heaven thing, right? Did we have dragon? Let's see here. Dragon. Okay, we do have the dragon floor lamps. And then we have okay, what was I going to say? So the purgatory thing here, right, that we were talking about, basically, okay, so when people first arrive, they're going to land on this step right here, if I remember correctly. They load in, and thankfully, Shirogane is going to bless us in this regard with the fact that we will load right here on this step and not like way into the room. Therefore, we actually have some space to work with here. So with our thing here, we're going to keep this kind of minimal, right? We have a greeter, but we also still need to try to get in that idea of the confessional booth, ideally. And I do kind of want to still see if we can work that in there, right? So the way I'm thinking of having this is we have our... I'm going to block this out. This is not what I'm going to use in the end, but for the sake of argument, for the sake of visually showing this, let's just say we have our confessional booth like this. Okay. Interestingly, that actually doesn't look too bad. There we go. It's done. We've built it. We've rebuilt Eluded Ecstasy. Problem solved. So I was thinking, though, that there would be sort of, you walk in and there's the confessional booth, and kind of like, almost like, not a judge, but like, I don't know. I'm not 100% sure if the confessional booth is going to function, to be honest. I just think they might be burning up too many slots on a thing that people won't realistically be able to use throughout the night, just given all the other stuff that we're trying to do. And so that's okay, though. I think they'll forgive me. The main thing is they need to make sure there's the pathways to the other places, and I wanted to get the element of time in here, and I was thinking the big grandfather-looking clocks, not chronometer. This one's right. Like, I like this idea of having like there be these like a bunch of these just like lined up here, like clocks basically, because the whole thing with purgatory is it's really a waiting room for heaven, right? And I know Amelia and them are now actually building out a full-on other venue for purgatory, like a completely different thing. So I think because they're doing that, we even have like, I don't know. This doesn't have to be even, it could be even less flushed out in a way, because there's the full version of that somewhere else. But again, I think I explained this on an earlier stream, but my take on purgatory in the context of what that means in the context of heaven and hell is really a waiting room. It's really just like a place that you arrive at before you go to heaven, but you're like not awesome enough to go to heaven completely. Like, you've been given the ticket, like, hey, yeah, you can go to heaven eventually, but you have to pay your dues and kind of wait around. And I felt like that would be so to say that the biggest element within purgatory to me is then clocks. You know? So like it'd be actually that's kind of cool. I kind of like actually having that. Maybe even having it like a you know, like other types of clocks or something, or you know, is there an evil looking clock? I don't think there is. I guess there's this Ariman one. But like I was kind of hoping that there's a wall clock that was kind of evil looking. Because then you'd have like the Mughal one on the one side and then the other one on the other side. Maybe we can figure something out. Way to make an evil looking clock. Right, because this actually looks pretty good. The Mughal clock here with the marble. That's actually pretty cool looking with the heaven idea. Although I don't know, the Mughal doesn't really feel that heaven-y to me. But it's closer. That cat clock maybe? I don't know. I kind of like the idea though of honestly just the big grandfather looking clocks and like a whole bunch of them. Like maybe 4, 2 on each side. And they frame this confessional booth and sort of this entryway, and it is just sort of like a waiting room, basically, right? Like, you're waiting to be let into heaven, and the gates to open to you, I guess. So I think that was kind of... That's kind of where I was going to take it. To give it's a very simple idea with Purgatory, but hopefully it's just enough that it lets you visually distinguish the vibe and everything from Heaven and Hell, which will have no clocks because they're eternal. So what purpose would there be to have clocks in heaven or hell if they're eternal? But Purgatory, it's the most important thing because it's like, how long do I have to wait in Purgatory before I can get into heaven, right? So if anything, that's, yeah, in a weird way, maybe the ultimate torture is you watching the mint hand tick away, right? So, yeah. Let's see. Not if there is no confession to ask for forgiveness, so... Just a bunch of benches and a clock. Yeah, the DMV Purgatory, right? Yeah, exactly, right? So, like, they very specifically asked me to make them a confessional booth. And originally the confessional booth was going to be in heaven. And I guess it's not that it couldn't still be in heaven, but it did feel a little bit like once you're in heaven, you wouldn't need to confess anymore. That's the whole point, right? The whole point of heaven is you don't need to confess. Like, you're done. You did it, right? It makes the most, technically it makes the most sense to not even be in purgatory. It makes the most sense to be on Earth. But that's kind of where, so the look of here was meant to be like arguably like a DMV waiting room or like a train station, like waiting to something, like, you know, like Grand Central Station or something. Like you're waiting for something to arrive to take you away, right? But also I was kind of thinking of making purgatory almost like a church in a way, because it's okay, arguably this is purgatory, but I also feel like realistically, because purgatory is kind of like a nondescript place in a way, I do almost feel like cleansing your sins and stuff on the way to heaven would kind of involve still basically interacting with a church-like element, like a confessional booth or like a, you know, praying or something like that, right? So I was kind of still trying to bring in like a church kind of vibe, right? So I kind of wanted like angled ceilings. So I asked actually them to give me some of these. Where are they? These things too? So I was thinking like doing like this maybe, you know, and having this kind of like a slanted thing here, you know, where we have, yeah, I guess I don't know how else to describe this. I mean, it is just a slanted area that has like a church, right? The angled roof, right? So, yeah. Craven Tigress. Hello, by the way. Yeah, welcome back to the stream. So who are you making this for? So this is Eluded Ecstasy. This is a nightclub that I am rebuilding. So I am rebuilding a FF Final Fantasy. Are you asking? Question mark. So this is in Final Fantasy 14 here. Yeah, we are. There is a nightclub called Eluded Ecstasy, and the theme of Eluded Ecstasy is heaven, hell, and purgatory. Heaven is up top, hell is down below, purgatory is the middle floor. And really, purgatory is just the entryway, basically, that leads you to heaven and the heaven dance floor, or down to hell and the hell dance floor. And so right now, I am just trying to work out what I'm actually going to do for this initial entryway where you first arrive, basically. So yeah, there you go. Does that make sense then? Yeah. So right now, what if you zone into the confessional booth and the greeter is on the other side of the booth? It's an interesting idea. Huh. Yeah, that is an interesting idea, right? Like the idea of that you zone into that. Yeah, like to be honest, there was also this idea I was thinking of, like, what if you just zoned right into heaven? Because like you've already done the purgatory thing, you've already done, especially now that purgatory is going to be like its own literal completely separate building somewhere else, like a completely separate venue that they're building, purgatory. Like there was the idea too of like, what if you just literally zoned right into heaven, like at the gates of heaven, right? Like bam, right? You load through the door and like it's like the whiteout moment, and then you come to and boom, you're up in heaven, right? I mean, because that is how that should feel, right? Is you kind of like walk through and you're just like, oh, whoa, wow, I'm here in heaven. But yeah, no, I like that too idea, Amphi, of like, yeah, so instead of having to load in to here and then see a confessional booth, like if you loaded in and this whole thing that you're in here is the confessional booth, arguably. And maybe as you're saying, the greeter is on the other side of the booth. So like you load in and the greeter is the priest, so to say, who you're confessing to, and thus opens the door after you've confessed, aka spoken to the greeter, who gives you the information about the club. Thus, you would walk out and have the doorway to heaven open for you. That is a cool, yeah, that's a very interesting way to look at it. And I had thought about putting like that you walk up to the booth and like walk into it, and then the doorways were on either side of the booth or something, or that even like if originally when there was the stairwell here, I was considering making the stairwell actually usable, and having you walk through the confessional booth, and then in the back of the confessional booth there's like a door that opens up, and then you'd walk up the stairs to heaven. Although that's not going to work out with the way the layout we're doing now. But yeah, I like this idea of zoning into the confessional booth, and then kind of as you leave it, you're like walking over into this, which kind of, so then like, yeah, like dressing this area up in a way as the confessional booth. That's kind of cool. Okay, wait, let's try this. Let's try out. Let's see how that feels. Oof, posture checked. Yeah, so like, I mean, I guess what if? Marvel's What If, not sponsored. Unless? So... That's darker for some reason. There you go. This again is very crudely laid out, but you know, you get the point. So if, for example, we zoned in and it did kind of feel a little bit more like dark or something like this, right? Where you have this sort of... Okay, you get the point though, right? Where here we go, right? Like something like this, kind of, where like you like load in. And then it's kind of like bam, and then there's like the partition here where the greeter would be like, oh, confess your sins and da 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 da. And then once you've done that, you know, then bam, you get to go to heaven. I wonder how can we make this that feel really natural. I wonder what's the most natural way we can make that feel. Where was what happens? How does this feel with the wooden skylights above us? How tall is that too? Is that gonna goof up the dance floor area? No, it won't. So here's like another like I guess design puzzle for you, right? Is by using the wooden skylights like this, right? As our thing down here, they actually provide us a natural dance floor platform above as well. So we can actually potentially kill two birds with one stone using this by floating these, for example, like maybe here, having this float over here. And then we can actually, create our above dance floor while also simultaneously creating the feeling down here. You see how that feels like potentially like a church or something? Feels like a little bit like a cult attic, actually, the way it's currently like dyed. But yeah, that's some efficient building there, right? Potentially, where we have our dance floor over here, and we did talk about already needing to have a sort of a area of the dance floor that is like raised up above other areas, and perhaps this naturally builds that in for us, actually, right? Which could be very useful. So if it was like that, and yeah, I like the idea of skirting the line between a church versus a cult. It makes the transition between heaven and hell feel natural. Yeah, right? It is kind of an interesting take on that. This is weird. What do you mean this is weird? So this is kind of weird and making this dark. It's literally dark, more just from the aspect of like the coloring right now of some of these things, right? Is also kind of very dark, but it doesn't have to actually be like evil looking. This is not the final materials that I'm necessarily going to use as well. It's really like right now just trying to figure out what is the concept here, what is the blocking, you know, of some of this stuff. So, and again, it's like part of it is trying to work in this confessional booth idea that was a big ask when they were talking about the rework of the build, right? Because they really wanted a confessional booth, and I'm trying to deliver on that, and I'm just trying to figure out what's the most natural way to make that a part of heaven, hell, and purgatory. That makes that feel like it integrates with what's the storyline there, you know? But again, I mean, part of the thing there is like, if you think about it in reality, the confessional booth would be on Earth, right? It wouldn't be in any of those places, I don't think. So that's kind of the why I'm going with this idea of having the like this sort of like church or confessional booth thing in purgatory, because that's kind of like, to me, that makes the most sense in terms of how that, like, where that would integrate. So right, Zanny, exactly, right. So the greeter is, do they have another permit here? Oh, they do, perfectly, yeah. So the greeter is right here. That's what so that's going off of what Amphi was saying too, right? So then that's like, imagine this, right, where that is the greeter, in a way. And then it's about having, yeah. Just like, there's not a lot of space here, right? So you're trying to make this read as a confessional booth with very, very, very few items, right? And that's part of the challenge here is we're trying to, you know, so like it'd be something maybe like this. Again, these coloring and materials is all wonky and weird because I'm just trying to use what I have on hand. Because these are not my materials and I don't have crafting on this character, so I can't just like drop a bunch of stuff. But I'm just trying to see what I can do to make a layout here work. Yeah, see, so it's like a little bit then having to still be able to get to heaven and get to hell. There's just a lot of things that have to all happen in this concept, you know? And so it's just trying to figure out a really efficient way to have that all happen, you know? And yeah, exactly, Amphi. Yeah, you just kind of work with what you have, right?
Yeah. Can this be...
Okay, so here's this. This isn't one idea with the confessional booth, but honestly, okay, so as cool as a confessional booth would be, there could be the argument that they pull this confessional booth idea into their actual purgatory, full-on purgatory build, where it's just purgatory. And we go back to the waiting room idea. So another way to frame this what am I doing here? So like another way, actually, if we had more room here to use, then I actually would have. So what I was thinking wasn't quite DMV, but I mean, I see exactly why that would be a natural thing to jump to. But yeah, I mean, in a way, it was kind of like a DMV, right? It was kind of like a literal waiting room, right? Like a literal, like almost like the waiting room of like a nice office building or something. Where there's just like this, like, yeah, please take a number and like wait to be seated. We'll call you like when that person that you came to meet with is like available. And you have this like thing with, yeah, you could put some like greenery or something too, right? Like it doesn't have to be like creepy looking. And then like clocks and stuff, right? Like a little counter here, maybe. What could be here? Okay, you know what? For the sake of this, I'm gonna just like put something random down. Oh, here we go. We just pull the guild leaf counter back again, right? But you know, you have like that, and then doing like our clock thing, right? Like when they were just talking about like what this was, like purgatory, like this is kind of like the original idea that I had in my brain, was this like waiting room thing with like a lot of clocks and stuff, and then like maybe a thing on this desk, right, where there's like the scale, that's like the judgment thing, right? It's this thing, right? Like making this a centerpiece of the room in a way, or like even floating this up and having it be sitting here up top, because you know it's like a very like you're getting, I don't know, this is the point of judgment. Technically you get judged before you arrive in purgatory, but like you know, it'd be like this thing of like, oh, you know, am I ready to go to heaven yet? Oh, well, like let's check the scales. Like, are you perfectly balanced out and like ready to go? No, not yet. Okay, right. When the scale swings to the, you know, is perfectly balanced, then you get to, yeah. So, you know, that's like, that's the kind of thing, right? Where that was originally kind of what I was going to go for, was that waiting room. It's not evil. It's not particularly amazing, and it's not particularly bad. You know, because we don't want it to make it feel so. The flowers everywhere thing, I think, is, to me, that's more like actual heaven, right? And so the reason I say that, Craven, is because when I think of like, so the thing is, because in the context of this actual build, they will be going to heaven, I kind of want purgatory to feel kind of neutral, so that way when they arrive in heaven, it really feels like, oh, like I'm in heaven now, right? Because like if it was too heaven-like in purgatory, then what's the difference, right? If you're like already in heaven when you arrive in purgatory, right? So the point, I think, is we want to make sure that the three area, like heaven feels really heaveny and like really bright and light and has a very distinct color palette. Then hell has like a very hellish, fiery demon kind of, vibe and color palette. And then purgatory is kind of like neutral. Like it's like, again, it's not really particularly great or particularly bad. It's just kind of the place you need to wait before you actually get to go to, ideally the good place. But great show, by the way. But like, yeah, so I don't know. Yeah, again, that's kind of, I do actually feel like this is a much easier concept to deliver on, maybe than the full-on like confession booth. And it's not that the confession booth thing isn't cool or couldn't work. It's actually much more that, do you want me to spend 50 item slots to make a really cool looking confessional booth, or do you want 50 more item slots to go towards making heaven and hell, which is where you'll spend 95% of your time in this club? Like, I think you'd probably want those to just really sing. You know what I mean? So, that's at least, again, where, if I do make the argument that like, hey, I'm not sure if we can do confessional booth here, but I would say maybe I can help like make a confessional booth perhaps at their other purgatory venue. But I think I am kind of leaning toward this idea of saying, for this version 1.0 rebuild of Eluded Ecstasy here, possibly going more with the waiting room concept, because I think we can land the idea of the waiting room much easier and with fewer items and make it work than we can to really get that confessional booth idea really integrated nicely, if that makes sense. I'd rather have almost like a temple, like we could have it even be a little bit church-like, right? So we could still do like use the new light, like what is that circular one, right? Like we could do this, and make it still, it's not super heavenly, but like we could still give it a little bit of a church vibe with some of this, some church architecture. Since again, we are going with the very Greek Roman depictions, Greek Roman / Catholic depictions, I think, or Christianity kind of depictions of heaven, hell, and these kinds of things. So I do think purgatory leans more toward heaven and more toward sort of churchly, saintly stuff. So I don't think having some of these motifs that you will see elaborated on and really built out in heaven couldn't work here, right? And I have never seen Beetlejuice, so I don't actually know. Or I haven't seen it if I did, I saw it like a long time ago. So I do apologize. I don't know that firsthand. I couldn't tell you if that's what it looks like in Beetlejuice. But I know it's a very popular movie and like I should see it, but I haven't yet. So, there's just so many movies. I am very up to date with. I've seen many movies, but just not Beetlejuice. But yeah, yeah, so the clocks, so the waiting room, so the clock with the little bit of churchy things, possibly the slanted things, right? So let's bring that back. The wooden skylights, right? Yeah, see what I mean? Like this, like, and then giving a bit of like a little bit more of a church kind of vibe or something. I don't know, actually, the wooden skylight does make it feel like an attic a bit too much, maybe, which does feel a bit more like a cult versus like a church. So perhaps we can figure out a nicer looking way to do like a ceiling kind of thing going on here. That again feels not too heavenly, but not too distinctly like culty or something, right? I guess. So fake Halloween fan. Listen to the Broadway Beetlejuice Broadway soundtrack. Oh, okay. I'd have to. I am a big fan of Broadway, so and a lot of those things, like just man, orchestration, like, or when you hear like Broadway versions of like songs, you know, like the 21 Guns, like the Green Day musical. I've never seen the Green Day musical. I don't know how the musical is itself, but 21 Guns as a Broadway version is super cool. And like, you know, and that's obviously taking like a pop song and then making it like a Broadway thing. But of course, you know, Phantom of the Opera, Wicked, Hamilton. If you're into Broadway stuff too, what is it? Tick Tick Boom. That was a really good watch, actually. I gotta say, I did not know what to expect when I was watching Tick Tick Boom. It's on Netflix, I believe, and it's the story of Jonathan Larson, who is the guy who did Rent, and tragically died actually right before Rent actually ever came out. But I think you've probably all heard of Rent, right? 526,600 minutes. That one, right? Seasons of Love. That's the one, right? But the guy who made Rent also made other plays before that. But the movie on Netflix called Tick Tick Boom is kind of showing a bit of that journey that he went on. And I think for a lot, especially for artists, it's a really interesting watch. It's got really good music that is pulled from a stage play that he did himself about his own musical journey. Like he was writing about his own musical journey and experience being in New York and trying to make it. And he wrote a play that was on off-Broadway, I think, called Tick Tick Boom. And most people probably never heard of it. But then Lin-Manuel Miranda, the guy who made Hamilton and the Moana soundtrack and a bunch of other stuff that I'm sure you all like if you like Broadway at all. But Lin-Manuel Miranda directed Tick Tick Boom. Andrew Garfield plays Jonathan Larson. Man, and basically it's just like a shilling for like Tick Tick Boom. Basically, you guys should watch Tick Tick Boom. It's really good. There's some songs and lyrics in there that I think you'll really resonate with. If you're, especially if you are at all an artist, or if you just understand the creative process and have struggled with that at all, there's a lot of really good stuff in there. It's very, if you guys know Rent at all, as you know, then you also probably understand that like this guy writes very grounded, real stuff, or at least that's like he's most famous for Rent. And Rent is obviously like very grounded in reality. It's very like, you know, hits home for a lot of people because he's talking about like real shit. It's not, you know, not to say that Wicked isn't real shit or you know, some of these other ones, but those are more fantastical, right? Like Wicked, Phantom of the Opera, Lion King, you know, wonderful Broadway, wonderful Broadway shows. Highly recommend them as well. Loved every minute of them. But they're a little bit more fantasy, right? Versus Rent, or Hamilton even is kind of like has that grounding a bit more in reality, which is kind of like a cool, different take on stuff. So. Hadestown. Oh, I've never heard of that one. I'll have to look it up. Let's see. Oh, and dying. Yeah, dying. It might change the vibe a bit. Like if we did the wooden skylights, but like white, for example. I mean, I think that's probably like the most obvious one, right? See if you do. So yeah, the issue with the wooden skylight to me is like it looks really good in darker colors, I think, right? Where you kind of, but the wood grain is really nice, but because the grain itself doesn't change in dyes, when you go like lighter colors, it kind of looks dirty in a way. You know what I mean? I have the same problem with a bunch of the wooden items where if you dye them the lighter colors, it doesn't come off as like pristine white bleached wood. It comes across a little bit like dirty, you know, kind of like dirty snow, right? I don't know if anybody else gets that kind of vibe, right? But this, you know, because like when you see this look right here, to me that's a little bit too sort of blotchy for heavenly church kind of stuff, I guess. Although the inversion of this is dark colors don't have to be evil. I do think like we're gonna use like a lot of like fiery red and that kind of glow for hell. But I also like, I mean, if you've been in churches and stuff too, I mean, they're not always super white and bright. Even the really grand ones, right? Sometimes they're not actually super white and bright. Sometimes they actually have a darker color palette, but it's about the lighting and the presence of the place, right? They have like maybe they have really beautiful stained glass windows and you know, other altars and these kinds of things. And to, you know, like maybe to Amphi's point and to even counteract my own statement there, like this maybe feels a little bit like earth attic color. But if you maybe if we did go a little bit more of like a, you know, like this, like, you know, this kind of dye, this kind of look, and then blend it with some other more church kind of elements, then we could actually make it feel a little bit more like it's just the roof of a cathedral kind of looking thing, maybe. You know, like if you did that, right? It kind of goes away that it's necessarily wood, and maybe can get a little bit more of the church thing as long as the other motifs and the other architecture would inform you that it is in fact a church. So that could be cool. I don't know. And in turn, you're distressed. It's distressed, and by the transitive property. Yes, artfully distressed, like those jeans, you know? Were you mauled by a bear recently? No. Just artfully distressed, you know? Let's see, falling off roller skates? Nope, didn't fall off from roller skates. These knees are just blown out like a bottom on the store. That being said, I've definitely seen some really cool ripped up jeans. I mean, I poke fun at them, but I've also seen some really great execution of them too. There's some really cool looks you can do with that. Let's see. Exactly, a cross. Yes, yeah. Yeah, like having a literal big ass cross here too. I know I've seen that, you know, people do that kind of thing where you use like some white rectangular partitions and put like a cross. It's not out of the question too. You know, okay, like even though I've been saying like let's make this look like a church and make it anything like that, there was a piece of me that was like kind of thinking I kind of want to try to not have any like right on the nose Christian looking stuff. Even though we are definitely going for, like, generally speaking, the sort of Christianity depiction of heaven and hell, that classic fiery demon hell pit and like the angels and stuff up above. Like, even though all of that is in a way like kind of classic Christian European thinking of those afterlife, and same thing with like well, you know, the architecture though, I'm going for more of like almost like the Roman thing up top, in heaven, Roman, Greek kind of looking thing. I don't know. There was a piece of me that was a little bit like hesitant to put on like a straight up cross, you know, in here, because I feel like that is very churchy, that is very heaven and hell. But I don't know. I don't know. Somehow to me it felt a little bit like I kind of like if it's a little bit more neutral or something. I don't know. So dance on the cross. Yeah, right. I thought there was a time where I was thinking a cross in the lobby, and then somehow like in the heaven side there's the cross, and then there's the inverted cross, like the flipped upside down one, when you're going down to hell. But you know, so and yes, this is also a nightclub. So I think again that's another thing that I'm keeping in mind as I'm doing all of this is first and foremost, what are people coming here to do? They're coming here to dance and they're coming here to party, right? So this is again another reason why I'm like, okay, I don't want to spend too many slots on the entryway, because like that's not what clubbers are here for. They're here to party, and they'll like usually like run in the door and immediately just run to the dance floor, right? You know what I mean? So yeah. So yeah, it's interesting. There's lots of things we're juggling here, you know? Lots of little pieces. I realized, I'm kind of curious really quick. I'm gonna pop outside. I bet you people are all right outside right now. Because I know Amelia is probably just starting her the Eluded Ecstasy. Well, she's doing her VTuber debut and then touring around a bunch of builds. So I think a bunch of people are probably outside right here. Just kind of curious to see. Craven, don't worry, you're good, But yeah, I think again, this is where, from a inclusivity standpoint and from just, I don't know, from a thematic standpoint, I did kind of want to, oh look at it, I see all the people. Yeah, I did just kind of want to avoid doing anything that was too on the nose of straight up any particular religion or anything like that. You know what I mean? But I think like heaven and hell as a neutral like idea concept is like neutral enough that it's totally cool. Oh, look at all these people. So cool. Look, we even have the Pope here. Holy crap. In the flesh? And Nyx. Hi, Nyx. Hi, everyone. Onion. There's Onion over there. Ladonia, I know too. I think they're all going to be running around to the different builds and stuff. Eventually they'll be at Prominence eventually later tonight. Gotta make sure to open that up. The Pope? The Pope. The Pope. I'm guessing that was Pope Parabellum, the DJ? DJ. Pope Parabellum. There you go, the free sound snippet. Oh, hey, there's a red and white rectangular partition here. Yeah, we'll have to, we can leave it there for now, that's fine. Yeah, I'll be honest, something like this, or even like just the initial thing I had there with a the visual of a confessional booth maybe even might be where I go with this. Does it completely seamlessly integrate? Maybe not. Is it the most immersive entryway possible? Also probably not. But given that I'm literally building across all 3 floors of this large, do I need to be a little bit sparing on how ham I go in the entryway? Yes. And I know if you guys know Ichi, then you probably have heard me talk about how for Ichi, it's not a regret. It's just that when we were building Ichi, the idea was, oh, we want to like also really make the lobby area feel really filled out because, you know, we have this whole concept for it. But just the reality of how that actually plays out is nobody spends time in that area. And it's really cool when you run through it because it feels like very immersive, I think. But it's just like, oh man, you know, like there's other areas that maybe could have used some of the items or something. That being said, I'm very proud of how Ichi came out. It's just that, like, I know ever since Ichi, it's something that I've always kept in my brain. Is like, don't go too crazy on the lobby or any areas that like people realistically just don't spend time in. Especially if it's a build that's meant for a lot of people and they're meant to all be like particularly partying in some place that you want them to focus on, right? You kind of, there's no reason to spend a lot of items on a bunch of areas that nobody will care about or see. Just see. The Pope Mobile, exactly. To the Pope Mobile. Yeah, oh, there will easily be a stagey area of the heaven area. So the Pope will definitely have his place. His or her place. Love when random. Boat Oak saying you could just play with light and color and have nothing else there except a greeter. Also true, yes. I think that's very true. I think, like, again, just making a cool entry area and kind of saying this is purgatory. You know, again, I think like an actual like a little bit of like a sigh of relief moment is that they're literally building an entire, I think it's a large, I think it's probably a large, or it's like they're building an entire venue dedicated to just the concept of purgatory. So I do feel like, again, people as a suite of interconnected builds, I don't think that people will be like, what the fuck, like why is purgatory so snubbed in Eluded Ecstasy? I think if anything, people could understand that, like, if you really want to like hang out in purgatory, you go to their actual venue that's called Purgatory. And this venue is more of like the transit area between the two. All right, actually, this does raise a point. Perhaps what I should ask them too is, what does Purgatory look like? What does their new venue that they're building Purgatory, like how does that look like? And then possibly bring some of those elements in here and say, this is like a taste then, right? Of like what the other one looks like. So in your brain, you could kind of piece them together and say like, oh, that you just went to different areas of Purgatory. One is like the more full hangout area, but this is just like the transit lobby area within that space, right? It's like just it's just the waiting room right before you're allowed to go through the door to go to heaven. But then there's other parts of Purgatory, presumably, and that's where the actual build comes in, maybe. So yeah. And how did you build the fake door partition in Ichi, by the way? So it's 2 paper partitions inverted against each other, and then you hold them open with a what do you call it? It's a NPC vendor. Nat. Nat, here, let me show you really quick. So, in Ichi, right? It's this, right? So you have a paper partition like this, right? Right, sorry, like this, right? And so naturally, it will get the NPC vendor being near the door will hold the door open, right? So what you do is you have one that's this way, and all you do is you do this. You put a second one that's this way. But see how this door never moves no matter what? And so since the NPC... Technically, you don't even need the NPC vendor. But from an immersion standpoint, I hate it when you're walking around a build and you hear the doors going the whole time, like opening and closing. So by just hiding an NPC vendor just behind the door, it makes it so those don't open and close even if you approach the door. So it's basically, yeah, you invert them and then it has the look of that, right? That's the end result, is it just looks like it's like that and it won't move. And even if you approach the door, it won't move. So that's how I did that. There you go. You're welcome. Hope that helps. Okay, well, yeah, I think I might end the stream here, actually. I'm gonna raid us on over to Amelia. So if you want to see her running around to a whole bunch of nightclubs, then you can stick around in the stream. She'll be, she's just debuted. I actually have not tuned into her stream yet, so I haven't even seen, but she's debuting her VTuber model on this stream and then running around to a whole bunch of clubs that she's partnered with or friends with. And gonna just be spending like 15 minutes at each club and talking about, or I mean, just showing them off, I guess. So if you want to join her on that tour, come and join in game, and or just watch her along on the stream. And near the very end of that tour, she will end up at Prominence, which is my nightclub that I built myself, as well as Ichi, which I also built for Rothcast, who we actually saw outside earlier. So he's definitely part of this thing. So yeah, the night is going to end with them going to Prominence and Ichi, basically. And then back here to Eluded Ecstasy, although they will not be coming inside, I don't think, because I don't know why you'd want to bring them in here prematurely. So soon, though, this club will be open, and then it will basically represent the suite of clubs that I've now created. Ichi, Prominence, Obsidian, which is not featured on this thing tonight, and then Eluded Ecstasy. So that'll be really cool. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Thanks. I see everybody saying thank you for the stream. Thank you all for coming. I hope you had a fun time on the stream. We had a lot of great chat today, and I'm again going to be continuing to work on this a bunch off stream. I will be pushing very hard to get this done, hopefully by this weekend. That's really what I'm aiming for, before this weekend. So, but yeah, we'll be back on Thursday for more housing. Again, if you want to submit a build for Spooktober, the Spooktober housing tour that will be happening next week, next Monday and Thursday, we'll be doing the Spooktober Halloween tour. And if you would like to submit your build for that, the tour form is now open in my Discord, which again, I will link here in the Twitch chat. So if you are not in my Discord, you are more than welcome to come join my Discord. And it's the best place to opt in if you'd like for notifications of when I go live for housing, creative streams, or the DJ sets that I'm going to be doing, of which there are many I'm doing this week. I think there's 5 or 6 that I'm going to be streaming just this week, including my debut over on EU, playing a garden party set for them at a new club that's opening on EU, and or is just opened on EU. But yeah, the Discord has a housing section where we talk about creative stuff, we talk about nightlife stuff, and again, for you housing folks out there who may have a spooky build that you want to show off, join the Discord if you're not in there already, and go into the housing section to the tour form, and you can read the rules and use the submission format there and submit your build. One per person, all data centers accepted. Yeah, you can read it all there. So just wanted to point that out for anybody who that might interest. And yeah, we're gonna head on over now to Amelia Satel. Let me just double check her thing's all live. I would assume it is. Okay, yeah, looks like they're live. Her VTuber model is active. Oh man, I cannot wait to pop over to the stream and talk to her. Okay, so we're gonna raid on over to Amelia now. Except for, so tomorrow, there's no stream from me. I'm gonna be working on stuff. But then every other day this week, there's a stream somewhere. So you can see the events in my Discord if you're in there. Or you can look at my schedule that I posted in the Discord or on Twitter, and hope to see a lot of you out at some of those DJ sets. Maybe even tonight when she pops by Prominence. If you guys want to pop by, I'll be opening Prominence up for them to swing by. Yeah, I'll see you guys in a bunch of other streams, maybe this Thursday. There's just a whole bunch of awesome shit to come to. So, yeah, mark your calendars. Next week, Spooky Housing Tour. This week, a whole bunch of DJ sets. It's exciting stuff. I'm sorry that if that's a lot of info, it's a lot for me to try to communicate out. But basically, look at my stream schedule on Twitter. It's pinned right to the top of my profile. Or you can look at my Discord. There's my Noah section near the bottom that has my stream schedule. You can also look at the top at the events section and like even hit I'm attending on that, like a Facebook event. And yeah, let your friends know. But now it's over to Amelia Satella. Have a wonderful rest of your night, everybody. Have a great rest of your week, whatever you end up doing. And yeah. I'll be yeah. Awesome. Good night, everybody. Thank you all again so much for coming. I appreciate all of your support. Thank you for the gifted subs, Amelia, and for the follows. I know we had a couple of new followers as well. Good night, everyone. Take care.